in no way should children learn about gender pronouns at an early age.
Dr. Phil is famous for his straightforward, no-nonsense approach, and that's no less true when it comes to his thoughts on the ever-polarizing woke culture of today. And his latest remarks are getting lots of mainstream media attention.
You can't create equality of outcome. What gives a DEI program the right to come in and try and alter the nature of things to create equality of outcome? That's been tried. That didn't work. That was called Marxism.
In a cancel culture world, with everyone not wanting to offend anyone, Dr. Phil is telling it as he sees it. And I personally love that.
This cancel culture bullshit. Cancel culture should be counsel culture. If you say something that's offensive to my values, I should counsel with you about it, not cancel you, not get everybody to hate you. You know, you see somebody that says something on Twitter or says something in an interview that is offensive to some group, and all of a sudden you start reading the messages they get. It's like, I hope you get ass cancer and die, you son of a bitch. I'll cut your throat. I'll come to your house and kill your children. Are you kidding me?
On Bill Maher's podcast, Dr. Phil makes a good point that we should all think about. He says we're not just dealing with politics anymore. It's much bigger than that. We're turning against each other because of cancel culture. Instead of the government being the big controlling force, it's us, the people, who are judging and trying to take each other down. It's like we're acting as judge and jury, all in the name of culture.
I don't think politics are the big problem. What I'm telling you is this. That's happening again, but it's not the government doing it. We're doing it to each other. This cancel culture bullshit, we're doing what 1984 had Oceania, the government, doing. We're doing to each other.
I understand. I couldn't agree more.
It's the culture that's the problem here. You're wanting to say, let's pick somebody and throw them against the wall, whether it's Biden or Trump or Bush or whoever. That doesn't matter. It's culture.
Shouldn't we be worried about becoming what we're supposed to be against? Whether it's Biden, Trump, or any other leader, Dr. Phil says it doesn't matter who's in charge. What really matters is how this woke culture is tearing us apart. Bill Maher and Dr. Phil are both making some strong points with their recent comments. Maher argues that many people on the left actually believe the extreme ideas coming from a small group, but those who don't are too afraid to speak up. He raises an important question. Why do adults in this country listen to a few teenagers on social media? Seriously, since when did 14-year-olds get to call the shots?
I think believe this stuff, but the ones who don't, my critique with them is you're fucking cowards because you know the insanity of your own fringe, but you don't call it out. And my question is always, like, this stuff, you're just saying about, like, the French or the experiencing homelessness. Why do this is obviously something that teenagers put up on Twitter or Instagram or something. Why does the rest of the country, actual adults, bow to it and follow it and go along with it? Because everyone is rolling their eyes. Almost everyone except the fucking 14-year-old who posted that. Why do we follow teenagers?
I mean, it's like the emperor's new clothes.
Then Dr. Phil brings up the story, The Emperor's New Clothes. In that story, the emperor walks around in his underwear, and everyone is too scared to say anything because they don't want to look foolish. Finally, a child points out the truth.
I mean, you remember that fable? The emperor's parading around in his underwear,
right?
And nobody wants to say it because only a fool would not see the clothes. And then the little kid steps up and says, "Oh, the emperor is naked. He's in his underwear," or whatever. Everybody else is afraid to get labeled.
Dr. Phil says we're in a similar situation today. People are afraid to speak the truth because they worry about being labeled or canceled. On the other hand, on Dr. Phil's show, Matt Walsh reminded trans activists on Dr. Phil's show that it should be obvious we can't just make up our own legal pronouns. He compares this to someone wanting their own adjectives, like telling people you're beautiful and smart just because that's how you see yourself. Isn't it a little immature to expect the world to cater to our personal desires?
You don't get your own pronouns, just like you don't get your own prepositions or your own adjectives. It's like if I were to tell you, my adjectives are handsome and brilliant, and no matter whenever you're talking about me, you have to describe me as handsome and brilliant because that's how I identify. Makes no sense. You don't get your own pronouns. That's grammar. That's language.
Dr. Phil wonders if any of this is even real.
So you think it's a delusion? Someone is self-delusional.
And Walsh doesn't hold back, classifying it as a combination of delusion, mental illness, and misinformation, particularly among children. He draws attention to parents who claim their little kid chose to be a different gender simply because they like playing with a dollhouse or wearing pink.
Yeah, I think it's delusion. It could be mental illness. It could be it's a lot of different things. With children, there's also just a basic confusion that all kids have. Like that's why when you hear a parent say, "Oh, my 4-year-old son came to me and said that I'm a girl now, and so that's what I'm gonna raise him as a girl." No, you're 4-year-old. I have 4 kids. When a 4-year-old boy comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm a girl," here's a good follow-up question. What is a girl? Ask him what he means by that. What do you mean by girl? And when you ask him that, here's what he'll tell you. He will tell you what he really means is that he wants to do some of the things that girls do, like play with the dollhouse, or he likes the color pink. That's fine, play with the dollhouse, but you're still a boy.
Walsh nailed it. Just because a boy enjoys girly things doesn't make him a girl. It's ridiculous to base important life decisions on the whims of a 4-year-old. Then Walsh asks the gender identity advocate to define what a woman is, and they can't even do that.
That's a question I would like to throw out to other members of the panel, actually, because just like the 4-year-old can't answer what is a girl, well, this is one of the problems with this left-wing gender ideology, is that no one who espouses it can even tell you what these words mean. It's like, what is a woman?
Well,
can you tell me what a woman is?
No, I can't.
If their advocates have no answer to that question, how can we take this gender ideology seriously? Matt even tried to get a clear answer from a woke person with so-called progressive views about what a woman is. Matt says a woman is a biological female, which seems straightforward.
Here's the thing, when you're female, it goes right down to your bones, your DNA. So that's why if someone dies, we could dig up their bones 100 years from now. We have no idea what they believed in their head, but we can tell what sex they were because it's ingrained in every fiber of their being.
However, the other person, using their woke language, claims that womanhood is a broad term. But Matt keeps asking what this womanhood really means, but the response is silence.
Interesting. So I'm trying to understand. Your definition is that a woman is someone who is female, you said, right?
Correct, is a biological female.
So what happens if we have maybe someone who is female, identifies as a woman, right? Cisgender woman, right? As you just explained, maybe doesn't have the ability to reproduce. Maybe doesn't have those organs that you're talking about that are reproductive organs.
I have answered the question. You stood up here and said trans women are women.
Yes.
Tell me what you mean.
The person ends up going in circles, saying that a woman is someone who identifies as a woman.
What is a woman?
Womanhood is something that, just as Ethan explained, I cannot define because I am not myself.
But you used the word, so what did you mean when you said trans women are women if you don't know what it means?
Right. So here's the thing. So I do not define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Womanhood is something that is an umbrella term. It includes people
that describes what?
People who identify as a woman.
Identify as what?
As a woman.
If you can't define something, how can you claim to know about it? If womanhood can mean anything to anyone, doesn't that make the term meaningless? Now, let's look at this incident when a woke woman starts discussing how certain groups face racism, unconscious bias, misogyny, and all the other terms that come up in these conversations. Her main question is how to make things fair for everyone.
Some demographics come to the table and have to overcome racism, unconscious bias, misogyny, and so how do we help level the playing field?
But then Dr. Phil steps in with a reality check. He points out that what she really wants is equality of outcome. In other words, she wants everyone to end up in the same place, no matter what. But Dr. Phil wisely notes that people are not the same.
For everyone.
Okay, so that means you're trying to create equality of outcome.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I hear you saying about playing God.
Yeah.
How do you create equality of outcome? when people
well,
aren't the same. You're right. Some people are shorter, some people are taller looking over that fence. They can't both play in the NBA.
Right.
You can't create equality of outcome. What gives a DEI program the right to come in and try and alter the nature of things to create equality of outcome? That's been tried. That didn't work. That was called Marxism.
You can't just wave a magic wand for diversity, equity, and inclusion and expect everyone to be able to play in the NBA. Some people are taller, some are shorter. That's just how it is. Dr. Phil even talked about how the term gender-affirming care is often used like it's just a casual suggestion. But let's be honest, what we're really talking about is serious stuff like hormone therapy or sex reassignment surgery for kids. The surprising part is that all the major medical groups support it. Dr. Phil is confused, and so am I. How can these organizations approve something without knowing the long-term effects? Where's the caution?
It's interesting they choose words like gender-affirming care. You know, that's interesting that they call it that, but really what they're talking about is hormonal therapy or sex reassignment surgery on children. All of the major medical associations have signed off on this, Joe.
Dr. Phil also mentioned that countries like Sweden and Norway have slowed down on these practices. Why? Because they can't honestly say it doesn't cause harm. They've seen the negative effects. So why are we still pushing this in the US? Dr. Phil calmly says he believes everything will be okay. But will it really?
They've signed off on it. And I have never seen those organizations sign off on anything with less information as to whether or not it does long-term harm of anything in my life. And when I ask about that, when I bring that up, then they immediately label you as transphobic. All of the European countries, Sweden, Norway, they've all stopped doing it because they say, we cannot say in good conscience that this does no harm, because it does harm.
As we wrap up today's discussion on Dr. Phil's bold stance against woke culture, it's clear that he isn't afraid to challenge the status quo. If you found this video enlightening, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update on our latest content. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.